Hello friends, if you look at this particular page, then you will find that the following button by default is disabled. What I mean is, suppose I navigate to the book tab, here the button is enabled by default, but if I come to the category tab, by default the button is disabled. That means you cannot click this button and that will make no impact because this is disabled. Unless and until you fill all the input of the page, this button will not be enabled. Like for example, suppose I choose one image from here, like for example I select this file, still the button is disabled. See, I cannot click on this button, it will not work. But if I fill the text field over here, suppose I type over here Java, now see the button is enabled. What will happen if I remove the file right now? So if I go and click the cancel button, that means I want to remove the file, again the button is disabled. So that means if I select the file, it is enabled, and if I remove the text field, it is disabled. That means as long as I am not filling both the input, the button is not enabled. This is a very important validation. So that means when the page will get loaded, since you didn't fill up the form, by default the button should be disabled. How did I achieve that? I will show you. Second important thing, imagine here my input. I have given J as uppercase, rest of the characters lowercase. This is a valid thing. I can write, suppose I can give something like space 9. This is also valid because Java 9 is there or JDK 9 is there. But if I put a semicolon or a colon, is this a valid? The moment I do that, immediately it will give a message, only letters and numbers and space are allowed. Apart from these three input, nothing is valid. So if I give a space, like if I give an input like Oracle, this is valid. See, the moment I started typing Oracle, everything is fine. If I give a space, that is not a problem. But if I put a dot over here, a comma over here, immediately the error message should come. I look over here, I cannot type further. Suppose I am trying to type, as you can listen that I am hitting the key, but nothing is coming over here. That means it will not appear, the text will not appear unless and until you give a proper input. And the moment I give an input, automatically the text got disabled. Alright, it means it is invisible. And all this is happening without me hitting the submit button. See, I am doing the validation, Oracle Corporation, suppose I put again, suppose I went for @ again it's showing only letters are allowed. So all this is happening directly on my key press. That means each time I type a key, immediately this input will get validated, and if it is correct, then only it will be moving forward. Otherwise the error message will span up over here and it will stay right over there. So on key press I have to do this validation. So these are the couple of validations that I will be showing you in this particular video. So let's start with how by default the button is been disabled. How exactly is this working? So let me take you to the code snippet. Here it is. So of course this is related with JavaScript. So in my same HTML template I have written JavaScript right over here. Well, you could have done that in a separate file also, but this particular thing, since I'm showing it related to this particular page, so I didn't do it in separate file. But you are free to do like the way we do in case of static. We create the folder JavaScript, there also you can do it. So as I said, that the moment when the page will get loaded, immediately the button disabled should be detected, right? So how did we achieve this? Okay, this is the database that's showing that there is only one record right now. Fine, perfectly well, that's good. So let me come over here now. This will bring us to this particular JavaScript function that is called DOM content loaded. We know that when we open a particular page, document object model gets loaded on the browser, and that is called DOM content loaded. So the moment when document, that means this particular page, got loaded on the browser, add event listener, the following event document content loaded gets executed. This particular event gets fired, and look over here, I have got few DOM elements. The first DOM element is my text field, that is category underscore ID, that I have identified right over here. Then I have got one more that is called my image right over here. I have got the image, file type image, this is right over here, that got identified, that also got identified over here. and I also have got a button, that too got identified. So all the three DOM element has been detected right over here. Fine. Okay, that's great. Now apart from this, initially what I am doing, I am disabling my button. As we are writing the boolean value disabled true, that button is disabled. Now I am creating one of particular function, and this particular function will be associated with these DOM elements. So for that reason I am saying that the following DOM element dot add event listener input, because I will be typing my input in the text box, right? In this particular text box I am going to type the input. So when the input will be written by the user, or when the user will type anything, immediately this particular function will get called. That's the reason we are writing over here. So add event listener. So you are associating one event with this particular text field, that is input type text, and whatever input you will give, on that basis this particular function will get validated. In the same way, if I change or if I select any image from the input type file, immediately this particular event will be, the function will be validated. So that means there are two type of event associated. One is the text box for which input is there, and another one is the image for, that is file, for which change is applicable. So remember these two keywords, input is for input text box and change is for input type file. So any one of the impacts that will be taken by the user, immediately this particular function will be getting called. So what we are checking over here is, I'm checking that is there any input given by the user. If it is so, then of course it will not be empty. If it is so, that means user has given the input, then it is not empty. In the same way, I'm checking if the user has selected some file, the file path will be shown in the input type right over here, input type file, there will be file path. So that means the length will be greater than 0. If both these two conditions is true, then the button disability will be removed. Otherwise, if any one of the DOM element is found to be false, then in that case the button disable will be continued. Okay, so that's how thing is working. Again I'm saying, if user has given some input, of course the length of that input will be greater than 0. That means it will not be empty. If any file has been chosen by the user, in that case the length of that particular DOM will be greater than 0. When both these two DOM element is been true, then the disability functionality of the button will be removed. Otherwise the disability will continue. So that's how the thing is working. So initially when you are opening the particular page, right now as we are opening the particular page, at that point of time both the conditions are true, both the conditions are false, sorry. So that's the reason the button continue to be disabled. But when I will give the input, when both the input has been given, then the disability will be removed. Okay, now comes the second important part, that is how did I manage to check whether my input is both alphabet, numbers and space. That means out of these three input nothing is valid. How did I manage to do that? Let's go and check it. Since I want to do this like evaluation on each key press, so there is a particular event called on key press. That means every time you press the key on key press, this particular function is going to be executed. Validate input, it's a function that I have written, whatever name you can fill, you can give it. This particular function will get called, and at the same time I have to pass the particular key that I have pressed through this particular parameter called event. So remember one thing, this particular function will get called when the user will press any one of the key from the keyboard, and I also want to pass which particular key did the user press through this particular parameter, because I need to evaluate that whether that key is alphabet or a number or a space. For that reason I need particular event, and this particular function is going to return me either a boolean value true or false. That's the reason return keyword has been written over here. So this is very important. You need to write the return keyword that implies what should this particular event should do actually. So return should be there. So let's move to this particular function, and as I said, this function is passing a parameter which is the particular key. So first let me write my regular expression. The regular expression goes like this: A to Z lowercase is allowed, A to Z uppercase is allowed, 0 to 9 is also allowed, and a blank space is also allowed. So this should be the starting format of the input string, and this should be the ending format of the input string. So that's how the regular expression has been written. So please take care about the way we write regular expression with the help of the backslash. Within that, caret sign is there, which implies that the starting of the regular expression, and at the end there should be a dollar sign that implies that the regular expression should be restricted within this particular expression. Okay. So that's how this particular variable has been initialized. So it holds this particular regular expression. Now the event dot key, as I said, I need to pass which particular key did the user press in the keyboard. that has been done by the event.key. So event.key will keep track that the which key that the user has pressed. So then I'm storing it over here. Well, in just below this text field, I have got one span tag where I want to show the error message. Like, let me show you once again what I mean. So suppose over here I am typing a number now, suppose 1 2, and now if I press hash symbol, immediately this particular error message will come over here. So this error message is appearing because of this particular span tag which I have written. Initially there is no content over here. The content will be populated by the JavaScript. So over here I have identified the DOM element with the help of get element by ID, and the ID of this particular text field is name underscore error. You are free to choose whatever name you feel like. So this is the variable that keep the reference of this particular span element. Now I am going to check that the input which is given, that the key that the user has pressed, that key is following the regular expression or not, if by the help of the function called test. So if the regular expression is not true, that means it is not following either of these input, that is neither it is lowercase, nor it is uppercase, nor it is number, nor it is blank space, then suppose I have given comma, question mark, full stop, semicolon, then this regular expression is found to be false. The moment it is false, input will be prevent, that means no input further will be taken with the help of prevent default. Well, you must be aware about this particular function when we have done Ajax. Over there, when we give a call to the Ajax, we have to prevent the load of the page. Here also the same thing, we are preventing the input being taken by the user further, because you have given one wrong input. First you correct that so that you can move on to the next input. So this will prevent the input being further continued. And in the div tag, I mean the span tag, I will show this particular message, only letters, numbers, space are allowed with the help of the property called text content. And in case if my input is valid within this particular regular expression, in that case I will remove the content that was there which have been populated previously, that will be removed, and return true will be there. See, return false means you are restricting the further input, return true means you are allowing the input to be continued by the user. So that's how this thing is going to work. So over here, if I continue by pressing numbers, then I mean as I tap the number, the input, this particular error message will go off. But if I give some other symbol like ampersand, even immediately this error message will come. But if I give suppose 1 2 3 learn React, if I give this, then everything is fine, but the DOM element has detected that this input has not yet been filled. So for that reason this button is disabled. Let's select one particular image from here and let me submit this one. Yeah, fine. And let me take you to this like the image. How many images do we have in the media? There is only one image under the category right now, and that's what you can see over here. So let me submit this particular data. As I do that, immediately the table populate with a new record, and along with that, let's come to the VS Code over here. Now we have got one more file over here. Let's come to my database, and as I reload the tab, you find the next entry has been given. That means the data got saved successfully. That means my JavaScript validation is working perfectly fine. Let's come to the book tab, and as I click on the drop down, 1 2 3 learn React, that is also been shown right over here. There's everything is working perfectly fine, and my button is still disabled because both of these input are not been filled up. Okay, so from here you saw that how JavaScript can perform the front end or client side validation, and for doing so you need to make use of different DOM elements. So please take care about these DOM elements. And the second thing is about the regular expression, which is very crucial for performing different validations. So this was my first regular expression validation. Definitely in my coming days I will be showing further more validation expressions. Okay, until then, have a nice time, take care, bye bye.